Steve Royle is BGT, the best guitar thrower. See what I've done? Not just a speciality act, he has funny bones, a funny face, and he's just a funny man. Before the world stopped, Steve was about to embark on a West End run with the lovely late and great Roy Hudd in the David Slattery play about Dan Leno, titled Naturally Insane. Royle's performance has been called extraordinary, a joy to watch, mesmerising, enthralling, funny and sad. Peter Kay called it comical, gripping and poignant. We hear about his collaboration with Peter Kay over the years, as well as his work as a TV warm-up presenter on BBC Lancashire. We talk about his second home, the Blackpool Grand Theatre, and his recent success on 2020's Britain's Got Talent final. Listen in as I try to come up with the most original way to introduce Steve Royle.
Hello.
Hi, Steve.
How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks, mate. Very good. So welcome, Steve Royle.
Yeah.
You are first class at what you do, Steve. You're Steve Royle. So you're Royal first class Royal. You're first Royal. You're male and you're first class. You're a Royal Mail, first class Royal Mail. So
You know what?
that sounded funnier in my head before I actually.
That actually eventually it came out really funny, that Steve.
That's how I wrote it.
But generally, in all the time, there's been many a pun put together with my Royal variety shows. And I've been on so many Steve Royle variety show bills, things like that.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone's gone down the postage stamp.
Have they not?
Well done, you.
That was 5 minutes ago. I thought of that, so I'm happy. I'm happy it worked. I laughed. You know when you think of something in your head and think, oh, I'll do that when I go on because something's happened during the day before a gig. I'll do that. And then I was in the kitchen preparing the roast dinner, which is cooking during this talk. And I thought, I'll do that. I don't think he'll laugh because he would have heard it before. So
Well,
you can have that.
As genius as that is, there's always the other, you know, when you state the obvious sometimes.
Yeah.
It's that little devil on your shoulder saying, don't do it. I remember years ago doing a charity show for, I can't remember who it was for, but David Copperfield, the comedian,
Right.
was on the bill.
I love how we have to differentiate between comedian, illusionist, and Shakespeare play or something. Yeah.
So I've got David Copperfield on the bill, and I was comparing it, and I had to introduce him on stage, and all the time I kept saying to myself, whatever you do, don't say the one and only David Copperfield, because let's face it, there's a famous magician in America called David Copperfield. There's the Dickensian character David Copperfield.
That's it, yeah.
There's the comedian, so there's at least three you can name quite easily. So he's definitely not the one and only. And I had this little devil on my shoulder just going, you're going to say it. Another one going, no, don't, Steve, don't say it. You're going to say it. No, don't. You're going to say it.
That is
like two of your dummies. So on each of I bet you have so many voices in your head anyway.
Oh, I do, mate. It's
That's
confusing.
what I was coping with. And I genuinely, I did fall for it totally. I went, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the one and only
Oh, no.
David Copperfield. Oh, awful.
Oh, wow. Oh, but you should have broke into that routine and then told him before you brought him out, do that routine, because that is funny. That's brilliant. Just breaking down the gag, you know, before you actually, and then just introduce the real one.
Yeah.
You just say, this is the real one. So,
If it's for future, I will do that.
this is the funniest David Copperfield.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Not the funniest looking. But anyway, yeah, Steve, you're one of those names I heard about on the circuit for so many years before I worked with you. And I was like, I'd love to work with this guy. And I saw your name, I heard your name, people talked about you. And then I think the first time I worked with you was about 7-8 years ago in Torquay when it was Vernon Lewis. Is that our first? I think it was. That was our first gig.
Yeah, well, funny enough, I spoke to Vernon only yesterday.
Oh, did you? Bless him.
What a great gig it was as well, wasn't it?
It was brilliant. You know what? I think it's the first time, maybe the second time I ever done the mask routine, and I hadn't really broke it in. I think Jimmy Tamney came to see me then. Yeah, but it was a great night. I loved watching you work there. It was the first time I ever saw you live.
Oh, well, listen, likewise, it was brilliant to see you all right live, and like you said, your legend like Jimmy Tamley at the same time. Brilliant.
And then we worked together in Sensatori, which was my first and last Sensatori, but it was a great Great visit in Ibiza. Was it Ibiza we went to?
It was Ibiza, yeah. And do you know what? I've done lots of those gigs. It's just nice to be pampered for a couple of days, really.
Yeah. It was nice.
The only problem with that, is I don't think the comedy clubs there worked that well. Certainly that wasn't that the room. That was the room that had all pillars and things in front.
Yeah, it wasn't the perfect room.
No. But it's again, mate. You know, you've been doing it so long now. You must adapt. You must have some visual rooms because you're like myself, juggling and vent act again. You've got to be able to see him.
Well, it's visual acts, yeah, visual, innit?
Good idea. Should be like
no complaints.
Doing a sight test as people go. Listen, they're testing for enough things at the moment, anyway, aren't they?
Yeah, so, go for it.
If we do a COVID test, we may as well a deafness and a blindness test before you go to a venue and seat you appropriately. We're laughing at this. This will be recorded in 15 years' time and going, can you believe we used to joke about that?
We thought of it first.
Yeah.
And then the next time I saw you, Steve, was when I instigated, I really wanted you on the bill at the Keith Harris tribute in Viva, and you stormed it. You had them in the palm of your hand again.
Oh, you know what?
And that was...
What an honor, what a bill, what a lineup you got.
It was a great night.
It was inevitable, really, doing it for someone like Keith, who everyone loved, especially in Blackpool, where you chose to do it. But I was like a little giddy teenager at the backstage there, of the people who were on the lineup. Incredible.
Oh, me too, mate. It was genius. I was so pleased to have you, and I've watched your spot on the DVD, and you killed them. It's just so nice. I mean, you asked me to put you on early because you had a double, and you ripped into them, and then you went and done your double. But now we're back after lockdown. Every gig seems to be a double, didn't it? Have you found that?
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
we're getting paid once.
Yeah. This is my biggest fear, and it has been for a while. That people start thinking, we've got to be careful how we talk about it, because I think if we seem so desperate, people go, well, I had someone asking me to go to Paris and do a party for us 50 quid and think, do you know what? I don't really want to be doing that. But you're going, do you know what? I really want to be doing that, because we just love, problem is we love our jobs, don't we?
Yeah.
So how do you genuinely put a value on something that we genuinely love so much? Because I think most entertainers will do what we do for free.
We have done, though, haven't we? We have done it for free, and we do that for free, and it is a passion. But at the end of the day, you've got daughters to feed. You've got teenagers. I've got daughters to feed, and we can't always do it for free. But we will when it's called upon. But there is a price on it, because we can't get to that gig without petrol. But it all adds up, doesn't it?
I think the biggest worry through lockdown, certainly at the moment, is just because of the lack of government intervention, etc. And this isn't just comedy, it isn't just theatre, it's talking about all kinds of entertainment, is that there is a tendency to feel undervalued, even that we have no purpose in society whatsoever. It was great to applaud people, the NHS workers, and to appreciate what amazing work they do. And of course, we're not lifesavers. It's easy to become. I've certainly had dark moments during this lockdown where I've thought, I'm worthless. I really have no point in society. And I think it's not my own mentality doing that. It's over the past few months, things that have happened, or things that haven't happened, as in theatres reopening, etc. It does lead you to believe that we're really low down on priorities, doesn't it? And it shouldn't be that way.
It does. It breaks your heart, because you kind of think, will people laugh again as well? I mean, going back out onto the stage, you think, do they want comedy anymore? Do they want to laugh? Will people laugh? Is there anything to laugh about? But I mean, at the end of the day, when we've gone back to the stage, the audiences, I think, want it more than ever.
Well, I certainly hope so, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, again, I look at having teenage daughters, and they're on YouTube all the time, just watching people in America just living their lives.
Oh, yeah, mine are into that, yeah.
Genuinely. I mean, like, I can watch, they'll be sitting there for 20 minutes watching some family with two kids walking around a shopping mall, and they'll have like 12 million followers. And you're going, is this entertaining? They generally start to go, I'm just defunct. I'm just...
What are we doing wrong?
The old forms of entertainment that there used to be years and years ago, and you think, how was that entertaining? That sounds ridiculous. Well, we're in danger of becoming that, aren't we? That's what listen, these are my darkest days, darkest moments, and I think like that. I actually did a gig last night in someone's garden.
Yeah.
It was so amazing. Just a series of chance occurrences happened. Me and my wife went for. I'll just tell you this because it's a good little story.
Yeah.
We went for a late afternoon stroll. We'll be working in the garden all day. So go on, let's just go and have a walk. So we went down near the canal where I live, and going back, should we have a drink in the pub? So we just called at the pub and they had a little beer garden at the back. And as we sat down there, this family went, "We've just been talking about you." I said, "All right. Oh, we're off to a party. Come and entertain us. We'll pay you." And I went, well, I said, "Oh, it's going to be." I thought they were joking.
Yeah.
I said, "Would you do it?" I said, "Look, I'll do anything at the moment." "Are you free?" "Am I free?" I checked my diary. I said, "Well, funnily enough, I am." And then the next thing is, they sent me a text message. They have my number anyway. They sent me a text message saying, "I was walking to the party. It's a 50th birthday. There's like 30 people in back garden. Pop up whenever you're ready."
Wow.
So I popped up, and do you know what? It was one of the most rewarding gigs I've ever done, because you genuinely, after having so long out, I know me and yourself have done a few holiday talks and stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah.
we can talk about them another time. They've been strange enough as all gigs can be. But it was just nice to know you've still got it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you need that feedback, definitely.
Yeah, because I mean, you like myself, we're doing things on the internet. It's Zoom meetings and Zoom parties, etc. There's no feedback.
No, I've been asking people to write it down. You know, when you get a little message down there, just write ha 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 or hilarious or something at the bottom, and I'll read it. I'll read your feedback. Please send me something.
The only nice part is being heckled by text is so easy to deal with. It gives you that little bit more thinking time to respond.
I know, but you've got to stop your act to text them back, haven't you? It's so dragging.
No one wants to see that. Just hang on a minute. I'm the slowest text. You see a teenager who would fly through that. That would be no problem because they can text that fast. But me, I'm sure I don't use more than one finger anyway. I know that much. You know what I mean? It's a long time for me to put someone down through a text.
Yeah, but their thumbs, they're going to get arthritis before their 30s. Their thumbs are going to go, aren't they? You got to watch that. Because my wife does it with her thumb, just her thumb. How are you doing that? And she doesn't go back and correct it. It's just she gets it all right. Yeah, too much practice.
There's one letter, and I can't even think of it. Whenever I do it on a text, there's on the phone. For some reason, there's one letter. Whenever I press it, I always press the
W and the
bar at the same time.
Okay.
I basically eliminate whatever previous letter every single time, and I look at my text when I think I've finished it. And it's just like Norman Collier texting, basically.
Yeah. Oh, the space bar, yeah. I thought you were going to mention, because there's been so many times I've talked about shoe business. I love being in shoe business. Or I've got to go and do a shoe now. You need to go back and change the E for a W, because it's right next to it, isn't it?
I know. Listen, I'm a Lancashire lad anyway. There's a lot of Lancashire dialect words that I still use, and the blooming spell checkers edited them into all kinds of things. You know what I mean?
Have they got spell check Lancashire?
Going back to the heckle thing as well, it's very difficult to insult people and swear at people with spell check, because you can't tell them to F off, you tell them to fudge, can't you?
Yeah. No, you can't write it.
In some respects, it's good. I'm all for censorship in that sense. You know what I mean? But when you really want to, if it's someone particularly annoying, it's hard to be really stern in text form.
Yeah, it is. You can't be angry at all. That reminds me of when we done Ibiza together, and Arthur Lager always picks on a lady in the audience, and sometimes her husband, and I picked on this guy. I'm sure he was in the mafia. Arthur asked where he was, and he dropped the F-bomb.
Oh, controversial.
He just basically went, sweet FO, and Arthur Lager sort of retaliated. Hang on, mate. I only asked you a question. And then when I ended up doing the mask routine later, and the guy in the audience that I used, I made him turn on the guy who heckled me earlier, and I made him. He told him to FO, and I don't do that. I was in Ibiza. I was pressured, and I felt like I had to get revenge, but I used a member of the audience to heckle him back. But yeah, it's quite shocking.
That is something that you got a particular skill, mate. That is just incredible. It's the same. It's the power of a microphone, but you got like double that, because someone can. end up punching someone
Yeah.
else, when they really
Nothing to do with me.
Culprit, aren't you? It must have something. You must have had the cases where, especially drunk people, who have you had a case where people arguing with Arthur?
I have, yeah, but
Generally,
really drunk.
even wanting to confront the puppet and not
Yes.
you.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever know of this ventriloquist Terry Rogers. She was a stag vent in London, and she was brilliant. Terry and Shorty Harris. Yeah, somebody heckled her, and he come up to the stage. He was so drunk, and she thought he was going to punch her, but he didn't. He punched the dummy, but he punched the dummy's head. It was one of these wooden characters, and if you can take the head out, but he punched it so hard it actually flew across the stage. But because she's such a professional, Terry Rogers actually had it in her to make the dummy go wah, and the timing of it was fantastic. And I remember that the guy that fixed her dummies, he told me the story because he had to fix it the next day. She sent the dummy's head in a taxi round to Wembley, to where he lives, and he had to fix the dummy's head. But she told him the story before he fixed it. But yeah, don't argue with ventriloquist dummies. You know, that's we'll get our own back.
Incredible.
Yeah, but this isn't about me. But this is about you. Let's tell us more about BBC Radio Lancashire. How did you get into that, Steve? Because you're a natural at radio presenting as well.
Well, yeah, which is a surprise, isn't it? It's the same as yourself. Everyone must quote you about Archie Andrews and people like that. You know, it's the same with me being a juggler on the radio.
Oh
when
yeah.
When it was first, propositioned to me, I thought, are you serious? Is this coming and wind up? But I'll tell you how it came about. I was doing pantomime. I think it was my first year in Blackpool doing Cinderella. And as part of the cast, as we often do, we got asked to go to a local radio station.
Yeah.
So I went to BBC Radio Lancashire and did an interview, and it was with Ted Robbins. Now, Ted, I've known Ted for many, many years, not just through Phoenix Nights connections, but also because he used to come to see me at Camelot Theme Park when I worked there for many years.
Okay.
He used to bring his kids, and he's always admired, all the stuff that I do. And so, in conversation, off air, he said to me, you know what, you'd be good on radio, Steve. Why don't you fill in for me when I have some time off?
Oh, nice.
And courteously, I just went, yeah, that'd be great, thinking nothing had come of it. And then about 2-3 months later, Easter time, so April time, that following year, I got this phone call from the BBC saying, would you like to stand in for Ted Robbins for 2 weeks?
Wow.
I went, yeah, okay. So I just went in and I waffled as you do on radio, but I've never struggled for words, Steve. I've never really struggled to just talk and talk. And so I did that, and then I kept standing in for Ted when he was on his holidays and on occasional days off. And then after about 2 years, I just got a phone call from the editor at Radio Lancashire saying, would I like my own show on a Saturday? And obviously I just was chuffed to bits. And that was, you know what? Most people know exactly when they started. They can even name the first tune they played and things. I haven't a clue. I don't really know what day was my first day at Radio Lancashire. I just know it was somewhere between 15 and 20 years ago, and it was at Radio Lancashire, and that was it.
Oh, amazing, mate. What a great story. And you know what? That must have been the fan base that you built up over them 2 years must have clenched it for you. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, they must have been so happy with the feedback.
Do you know what? There's two things about doing radio that I've never really anticipated. First of all, how communicable it is on radio. And by that, what I mean, like I said, being a very visual act, I never realised how funny or certainly how entertaining I could possibly be just by speaking. I generally used to think, it's just because I've got that funny face. Because people have always said to me, you've got funny bones. Now, it's easy to see funny bones, isn't it? But how do you get it across on radio? And I'm surprised actually, radio is quite a freeing medium in the sense that you can be anywhere you want to be and do anything you want to do because you just have to paint a visual picture with your words. So whereas if you're doing a TV program, for example, and you're a desert island, you've got to go out and find somewhere that at least looks like a desert island. On a radio, you just got to put some sound effects of some sea, and you're there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, nice.
It's a much more simplified process than anything else. Like certainly in comparison to television. Yeah. And then the other thing I was introduced to with radio is the fact that you very quickly become thick-skinned because this going back to what we were talking earlier about texting insults, texting heckles.
Yes.
You get that immediate. People when they send in a text or a comment or an email to radio station, I think some people assume it goes to the editor and he reads them first and then passes them on. But it doesn't work like that. As a presenter, you see them. And for the first time in my life, I was actually seeing people going, what's this rubbish? What's this lads making stupid noises?
Really? You saw all that? Wow.
Yeah, the insult ones. But what is beautiful, and I found this out quite quickly, is when you read out the people, because no one is going, listen, I always think it's better to be Marmite, as in liked or disliked, than it is to just be going, oh, he's all right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you're just all right, then you'll potter through life, but you'll never reach the really highs of having your material appreciated, and you'll never have to experience the real lows. And I think life is all about a roller coaster and managing those. So like I said, to be having people insult you, but what I used to read those texts out on air, and then what is beautiful and reassuring is the backup that then comes.
Right, yeah.
So you get one person texting saying, "Oh, stop talking nonsense, you rubby. What's this? You're an idiot," or whatever you might say. And you read that out, and then you get 30 or 40 texts then going, "Ignore him, Steve. You make us laugh every day, and you're
that's nice.
The fresh air in the afternoon or the morning, whatever." And that way, then you ride on that, then, don't you, to get you through the next bit.
Yeah, they backed you up. That's nice to hear that feedback from them.
Exactly, yeah.
And did the producers like that? Did they like the fact you read out the negative as well as all the positive, and it kind of drowned out the negative, really, didn't it?
Yeah, and again, I like to think, some people may shy away from doing that, but I think done correctly and done. There was one case, actually, there was a guy who phoned in once. I was actually doing an outside broadcast at the time, so my producer back at the base, he said, just had a phone call from a bloke complaining that you're just being daft making silly noises. Now, I can't remember what the situation was, but I was making silly noises. And he said it kind of goaded me, if you like, saying, go on, have a go at him, Steve, have a go. And so he read this out on air to me. He said, well, we've had this message, Steve. He said, so he tells us. And I immediately went, you know what? He's probably got a point. Do you know what I'm going to do? What's his name? He's called Robert. All right, Robert, if you're listening, I'm going to discipline myself, and I'm going to give the next 30 minutes, I'm going to be sensible and clever, and I'll win you back. And do you know what? That guy has become a lifelong fan since he comes to my gigs.
Wow.
Initially hated me on radio. I worked with, I took on board his criticism, and I acted on it. And 30 minutes later, he was a fan. And he calls himself now, he actually goes on my Facebook as Colt Hanger Rob, because people were messaging, telling me he's got a coat hanger stuck up his back, he's too stiff. And so we nicknamed him Colt Hanger Rob. And he used to join, he still to this day texts into the show, Colt Hanger Rob, and loves what I do. Absolutely. I won him over.
Brilliant.
So nice.
To win them over, and I mean within half hour as well. I mean you get along if you go on cruise ships. I didn't like ventriloquists, but I enjoyed you. You get the skeptics that don't want to come and watch a vent act or a juggler, and I'm sure you may have had it where they said I don't like comedians, but you were funny. Do you know what I mean? We get it. It's a backhanded compliment, but they feel like they need to tell you that they hated you until they watch you, But that's nice when you win them over. It's nice to hear, something like that, because it
absolutely, it's the ultimate compliment, and it is hard. The hard problem with that is when they go and watch you, and you see them, especially cruise ships. I don't know why it's cruise ships. I think people. Just the reputation cruise ships have anyway is a little bit stuck up, and so they're a little bit, they can be hard audiences to entertain, but I don't mind a tough audience if they're willing to give you a go. It's when they any audience sit there and look at you like, go on then, and are looking for the criticisms as opposed to just relax.
Yeah, normally on a formal night that is as well, isn't it?
Formal dinners and things like that. It's hard, but they pay the bills. Or used to.
Yeah, they used to, unless you're furloughed. But The worst thing is if they actually love you and they come and watch you and then they say the opposite. It's like, oh, I used to love you, but I didn't enjoy that. You don't want that.
Yeah.
I had that once on the
You were
ship.
much better last time.
Yeah.
You must have had that as well. I've had that, particularly because I do the guitar juggling finish and the ping pong ball routine, which I'm quite synonymous with now.
Yeah.
And two of the routines I did on Britain's Got Talent. There was a period where I just didn't do them. I just got tired of performing them, but I thought I've got to move on and do something new. But then I got people who used to come to gigs and come up to me afterwards and go, "Oh, I'm so disappointed you didn't do that. I brought my friend from wherever, he was going to, I was telling him about your act and you didn't do it." And I used to get so many criticisms about not doing it that then I realised, that was when I realised, I think, that as much as we like to think, we always worry as entertainers, if you go back to a venue or go back to a particular place, of worrying that people have seen your material before.
Yeah.
And it's something that I've grown to get better at adapting to, just by not adapting to it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Just ignoring that. You've got to put those thoughts out your head, because people, it's only you who's seen your act 1,000 times. Other people, they might remember one gag, one tiny element, but it's very rare that they'll go away. And even if your act hasn't changed at all in the last 12 months since you last did it, they will come up to you afterwards, invariably go, "Oh, that was brilliant. I like that new bit you put in there." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Necessarily see the time before.
Yeah, if I was watching Ken Dodd and he didn't do Dickie Mint, I would have been slightly disappointed. And even though it's the same routine over and over again, and I do get it. I get it from if I go on tour and do things, or on cruise ships, people say, "Oh, you better have Arthur Lager in because he was great." Or do you still do that routine? And sometimes I take characters out. Why didn't you do Dave the Horse or Chi-Chi? And they're only really for certain shows that work, And I do try and cater for different audiences. And so, but then you get a kid sat in the front row who's sat down especially to see Silly Sausage, which I've done like twice on the internet. It's like Lee Evans, I guess, when he done Bohemian Rhapsody. Just say like your favourite singer. If they don't do the song that you love, that I paid to come and see him, especially do, his favourite songs. It's like that with comedy. It's like Lee Evans' Bohemian Rhapsody. He'll do it at the end because he knows people love watching it over and over again. It's strange that people actually use that within comedy as well, isn't it? But if they love your ping pong routine,
it's a strange anomaly, that, isn't it, really? When it comes to singers, you always want them to do the classic hits.
Yes.
And slightly disappointed they go on and just do the new album, which you don't particularly know. And yet in comedy, it's sort of opposite. You go, "Oh, it was all new." But I think sometimes there are exceptions, certainly with visual things anyway, definitely with visual stuff.
Yeah, definitely. You don't want to go see a comedian doing the same jokes you've done on the last DVD, do you? And that's that's a pressure for them, I guess, to rewrite. And that's why they go and do all these arenas and stuff. They write a brand new set, which is what they can do these days if they need to. But once it's all used on television, I mean, we're not on telly as much, and so we can do the act we were doing 20 years ago, but we choose not to sometimes,
Yeah. I was going to say, there is an immense pressure on, the bigger the famous comedians that to deliver new stuff all the time, and it's unrealistic. What you forget is that usually, especially they've been on the circuit for several years, their material has been honed over years and years, and then people expect them then to maintain that level.
Yes.
Every 6 months, writing new stuff and just going out and doing it. And that's why so many... This is the fact that the trend now is for comedians to book like 20, 30 days in a small provincial theatre to warm up and do what they call material in progress shows. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're actually great shows to go to, but you can see them you can see the fear almost in them as they're desperate for some of this to work, because they know they've got to fill an arena in 2 months' time.
Yeah, you know I prefer not to see him in arenas. I love to go and see him in the warm-up gigs, I love to see them fresh.
Always better. You'll always be more surprised, and certainly the intimacy of a gig. Having done arenas.
I know you could say that. And so, I mean, but for that act that you do, and you say about doing your favourite act on people wanting to see that same routine with the ping pong balls, you went and warmed up for the Royal Variety performance was it Manchester you did that?
Well, I don't know. That was in London when I did the Royal Variety.
Oh, okay.
I think it was 2006 when I did that. Yeah, that was that was a strange one anyway. That was in the
Palladium. It weren't the Palladium.
It was the Coliseum. I did.
Coliseum.
I
Yeah.
this was the Coliseum Theatre, and I went on before anyone else. The audience was still walking in, and it was proper warm-up gig, really, as opposed to being on the show. This is why when I did Britain's Got Talent this year, the aim was to finally get on the actual show, because I'd like to have a more attentive audience than I did that day. Well, about 14, 15 years ago now, and they're a tough audience to Royal Variety at the best of times, but they were all walking in it. And my last job was literally to bring on the guy with the big horn. I'm going to rephrase that, big horn. The guy came on with the big horn.
You tend to do that to your acts, yeah.
Yeah. He was for the Blues and Royals, and my last job was introducing Sergeant Major such and such a body. Everyone gave him applause. He came in and he started the fanfare the royalty. It was Prince Charles and Camilla who came in, and I'd left stage by then, walking past Jonathan Ross, who was hosting, take that on one wing, watching, and Meatloaf, Barry Manilow, Rod Stewart.
Wow, it's weird, isn't it?
So it was lovely to be part of it, but at the same time, I didn't really feel part of it. Do you know what I mean?
No, but wasn't you a TV warm-up? Was you TV warm-up? Did you do that as well?
Well, I've done lots of TV warm-up, yeah.
Yeah, what shows did you work on?
Years ago, I did one of the earliest ones was The Price is Right with Joe Pasquale.
Oh, wow.
I did 150. I can't believe it. It's one of the few. I don't have a lot of mementos on my wall at home, but one in the kitchen was a big poster they all signed for me when I finished the show. And it's just commemorating 150 episodes of The Price is Right.
Brilliant.
150. So that's incredible. That was years and years ago. But since then, I've done Question of Sport, Mastermind. That's always baffled me.
You warmed up for Mastermind. How did you do that? You asked them questions. You asked the audience.
Well, no, you don't even do that, but you get them all G'd up and then tell them to shut up. I've had some pointless jobs in my time, but that's got to be the most ridiculous. You generally get them all excited and then tell them to just please be quiet now. When the contestants, I never really understood why they employ warm-up or Mastermind. But
that's weird. Newsnight? Have you done Newsnight?
Panorama. The most recently I've done a lot of kids ones as well. I've done Sam and Mark, which is big BAFTA award.
Oh, great, yeah.
And then last year and coming up again.
Crackerjack. Oh, brilliant, yeah.
Which has been brilliant. Really good fun. And I'm led to believe it. So I had a phone call last week that the Crackerjack, the next series, is going to be filmed in October. It'll be aired at the beginning of next year. And they are going to have an audience in there. There's socially distancing bubbles, family bubbles, static tables, and all portioned out and everything.
Brilliant,
so
good.
It should, fingers crossed, be going ahead. And so it'd be nice to be, listen, it's just nice to have some work to look forward to, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, mate. You've got loads to look forward to, mate, and it's brilliant. And I think by the time that Crackerjack goes out, I think you're going to be asked to be a guest on it, not just warming behind the scenes, because they're going to want you on it now, aren't they?
That does make me giggle a little bit, the fact that probably when Britain's Got Talent is aired, it may well be at the same time that I'm doing these recordings, so there's a likelihood that I'll be on telly in front of however many millions one night, and then I'll just pop up as a warm-up guy for Crackerjack the next day. But I love that.
Showbiz. Yeah.
But when I did the Phoenix Nights Live though in the arena. Now the Phoenix Nights Live show, that was 2015. That was 15,000 people a night, and you mentioned about it, difficult to be intimate. But what was really good about that show, when Peter asked me to do it, I spoke to him for quite a while. Met up with Peter and just discussed about adapting to an arena, and he gave us some amazing advice there, and anyone listening to this who's thinking of doing an arena gig in the future, take note. It's actually, because of the cameras they have, these big events, you can actually do less movement. There's tendency to think if you're in an arena, you've got to make your act massive. For you, for example, you probably move Arthur's head a little bit more, pretending to really exaggerate his arm.
I'll just shake my right arm crazily.
Just so people further back can see, but you don't have to because the cameras are doing that.
They pick it up,
And I found this from the very first night that we did 15 consecutive shows, 15 consecutive nights in that Manchester Evening News Arena. And, every single night, and certainly one not to hit home more on the first night, but I realised that even if I lifted an eyebrow or a funny face, it got picked up on these monitors.
Nice.
And you get this like beautiful wave of laughter as well because of the sound system in an arena. You get the people near the front laugh first, and then it goes back and back. So in actual fact, what an arena does is it slows you down, because you've got to wait for the whole arena to react to your jokes.
Yeah.
So it slows your performance down.
It's a wave, isn't
In
it?
some respect, and it narrows you down as well. What I tended to do, as opposed to be waltzing around the stage using all the space, I didn't have to. I just stayed still in the middle. You know, I'd obviously in my act I move around a little bit, but stay generally in the middle of the stage. Cameras are picking you up, and it was surprising. It's surprising to know how effective just simple small movements could be in such a huge, vast arena.
Ah, that's amazing. Yeah, I know. I've seen Lee Evans on DVD in those arenas, and they pick up every facial expression that he uses, and so it's quite important, isn't it, for a comedy face, someone with funny bones, to actually be picked up, because I've been at big concerts where the people are too small, like Paul McCartney, and he's been on the screen, and you do end up looking at the screen. But for comedy purposes, it's needed.
When you find yourself doing it, you curse yourself, don't you? Going, I need to be watching the live bit. You resort back to watching the little dot.
Oh, I know, because I'm in the room. I should look at the little dot of a person. Otherwise, I might as well watch this on DVD 10 months later. But as a ventriloquist again, I'll be lost, because if the front row I did do the Albert Hall once, and I'm thinking if the front or second row can't see my mouth or the puppet's face. Yeah. Then the rest of the room's lost, you know, and I didn't have a screen. So, I mean, what comes out of your mouth has to be important and funny anyway, doesn't it?
Well, of course it does, yeah, of course it does.
Hopefully.
And again, that infectious laugh thing is never to be underestimated as well, because if you can make, you know, sometimes whether people actually hear and get a joke, and especially the visual stuff, sometimes people just laugh because they feel the momentum in the room laughing. So if the first three rows, like you say, if they've seen something visual, that will get picked up somehow from people like that. And again, it goes back to that funny bones. People just connect. It's just said something, I didn't get it, but it must be funny. The moment, if you like,
people laugh at laughter, don't they?
Absolutely, of course they do. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Phoenix Nights. So what part did you play in Phoenix, and how did you come about that job?
I mean, the full story is this. I did a TV program many moons ago in 1999 called Give Your Mate a Break, and as part of to cut long story short, it was a little bit of a talent kind of program on a Saturday night by the team who put together Stars in Their Eyes. All right. It only ever lasted one season, but Les Dennis presented it, and I was on there. And as part of the week, they kind of took your act and tried to make it different and altered it, which is never a good thing anyway, because you can't, like I mentioned before, you've honed these skills for years and years, and then you suddenly have in 7 days to produce a whole new act. But one thing they did make me do was perform at a comedy club in Manchester. It was a surprise thing. They came to me, all the camera crew walked into rehearsal one Thursday afternoon and said, "Steve, we've got a surprise for you. You're going tonight to the comedy club in Manchester." Paul Zennon was my mentor.
Okay, Paul's great.
The magician, very funny lad.
Yeah.
And a brilliant magician. And he says, "Right, Steve, we're taking you to the Frog and Bucket in Manchester tonight. You've got to try and entertain a comedy club audience. You've a stand-up comedy club audience in the alternative club you've never done before." And so I did this, and I actually had a great gig. And as a result, Dave Perkin, who runs the Frog and Bucket in Manchester, he said, "Look, we'd like to give you a full weekend next year sometime." So he gave me this weekend about 6 months later. And on that weekend, the compere was Neil Anthony, who's actually Neil Fitzmaurice from Phoenix Nights.
Right.
And just by chance, so this is my first ever weekend of stand-up comedy gigs. I went on stage on the first night. He watched me, and he said, "You know what, you'd be brilliant at supporting my mate Peter Kay. Would you be up for doing it?" I said, "Yes, of course." The next night, Peter Kay came down to watch me. Not only that, but he went on stage and tried out some new material as well. He was doing his Egypt routine and garlic bread for the first time, testing it out. So I watched him do that, and then he asked me after me if I'd support him on tour. And it was as quick as that. So basically,
fabulous.
2 gigs, 2 stand-up gigs, and Peter Kay was asking me to support him on tour. And I'm eternally grateful, because ever since then, whatever he's done, he's found me at least a small part in it. And I've done, obviously, everything that Peter's done on telling Max and Paddy. I played Munster in episode, whatever it is, of that one. And then I was juggling with babies in the spoof he did at the talent show thing. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
Long title, hasn't it? You know the one I mean.
Yeah.
And then the Phoenix Phoenix Nights. So the Phoenix Nights was the first play he got me involved in, and the part he just had me as an auditionee at the end, which I used to find really odd because it was. If you ever watched it, at the end you used to have all these people, strange acts going on, and the idea I would be a rubbish magician, rubbish juggler, dropping everything, dropping plates, dropping, smashing these plates on the stage, dropping everything, balls. So I had to do the Les Dawson piano playing equivalent of juggling, just basically trying to make it look like I couldn't do it. You see?
Yeah.
So this is on my CV for years, and people used to introduce me as from Phoenix Nights, and I never really felt like part of the full team because I only ever did one episode. But then, when he asked me to be part of this Phoenix Nights live show, I suddenly felt legitimised again, and I felt like one of the team. And the reason he got me involved, Peter, in that is he says, you're the only one who's actually got an act, because everyone else was a character.
Yeah.
And the idea was, he said, I want to put you on and show that since the Phoenix Nights episode where I was dropping everything, the idea was, he's actually got on, he's done all right, he's done well.
Oh, brilliant! That's great. I'm gutted I missed it. Wow.
That was the idea. That was the idea behind it.
That's fab. He's extremely loyal, isn't he, Pete? He's really, really loyal to his mates and his.
I can't
good talent.
Say anything bad against the guy in the sense that he's always looked after me. He's always been right behind me in everything I do and very supportive.
Yeah, I've heard great things behind the scenes about Pete. Yeah.
In terms of the work, both in terms of the workload he's given me, just advice he's given me over the years as well. He's always there. He's at the end of a phone call if I ever need any help. He's there. He's brilliant. Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely to hear, mate. Ice and Steve. Now, speaking of loyalty, you're completely loyal to the Blackpool Grand Theatre. What is it that you love about the theatre and keep going back to that same panto who love you, don't they? You've got a big fan base there.
Yeah, I mean, this will be, it's not happening this year now, but with the 18th year, with sort of every year for 17 pantos on a run I've done there. It's, first and foremost, I studied history at university. Now, not a lot of people know this. I did economic and social history at the University of Kent in Canterbury.
Nice.
So I love history anyway. So to go into a building like the Grand Theatre, and I get proper engrossed in not just the building itself, but what I think makes any building, and that's the people and the performers who perform there. And to know that the likes of Dan Lino, which we'll probably try to get about in a while as well.
That's next.
I've got on to be do a play about that. We'll talk about that.
Nice link.
People like when you know about Dan Lino's performed there, there's so many famous actors, singers, variety acts who've been on that stage, and every single performance that I've done on there, that's been going through my head as I'm walking off stage and on stage, is just thinking, the footsteps that have stood up in these steps before me. And to be part of the building's history now is incredible. Like I said, I've done 17 years there. It's probably, it's the proudest thing I've ever done is be associated with that. They can't take that away from me now. The building's it's 126. It's 125th anniversary last year, so it's now 126 years old. So basically, for about 15% of that building's life,
that's your history, yeah.
So that's that'll go down forever. They'll in 100 years' time there'll be listing acts that appeared in Blackpool, and I'll be amongst the list.
Mate, there'll be somebody in 100 years' time who'll be doing that same history lesson in university, talking about Steve Royle was here for 15 years. You're going to be the Dan Lino. You'll be the Dan Lino of that time.
What an amazing thing that will be, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Well, it is amazing. It's a great history.
It will happen because I'll persuade my grandkids to do their projects on me at school.
Oh, nice. So, Naturally Insane as Dan Lino, how much were you involved in getting that to the stage? And what was the experience like playing one of those variety icons like?
Well, from doing pantomime many years ago with Amanda Barrett, she was the first person who ever said, you remind me of Dan Lino, have you ever heard of him? And then I started to look into him, and I knew a little bit about him. But then 2 years ago, doing Cinderella at the Grand Theatre, and there's a guy called David Slattery Christie came to watch, who's a playwright, who I'd worked with many years ago at Granada Studios, so funny enough.
Okay.
And anyway, he saw the show and he just sent a note to me afterwards, backstage. I got this note saying, really loved your performance. I'm a playwright. I've always wanted to write a play about Dan Leno, but I've never done it because I never thought anyone could play the part. He was so, so versatile and such an iconic role. But I think I finally found someone new. And obviously I was flattered, immensely flattered, and I didn't expect anything to come of it, really. But then, before the end of the Panto run, I got this full script arrived. And I didn't read it immediately, I have to be honest. I just thought, oh, well, that's nice. I thought it's probably rushed together. But then I was at a synchronised swimming class with my daughter.
Of course.
Yeah, and of all... I don't know if you've ever been to a synchronised swimming class, Steve.
Not yet.
It's the best way I can describe it is like getting bad seats at the river dance. Do you know what I mean? All you can see is a fleeting head and arm movements. That's it.
You can only see them on the diving board, surely.
Done with the legs, isn't it? All the keeping them float and all that business. That's all legs kicking like mad on the ground. You just see this dainty little arm go.
Yeah, there's just splashing. It's just like there's loads of salmon in the swimming pool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just floundering around, and especially at that amateur level as well. So I engrossed myself in the script instead of watching my own daughter. And she's gone over to pack. She's been disorientated and packed in all of the swimming because I didn't pay attention to it. But the upside,
but you've got to play out of it.
The upside is Daddy's been on tour. So I read the script, and also again it's about coincidences, and I think so much about. I think we can all pin our career moves, etc., to various coincidences and chance meetings. But the other thing was this happened in my 50th year, so I was turning 50 in the July. And this David Slattery said he had a spot in the Lytham Festival for this play to go on.
Nice.
If I was interested, and it just so happened to be the week that I turned 50. So I thought, what a great way to celebrate turning 50 years old and to perform in my own play. I mean, I looked at the script, and obviously it's just about an hour and 45 minutes the whole play, and I'm on stage nearly all of it. So that we can imagine how vast the lines, so many lines to learn. I thought, will I ever be able to learn it? So I just thought each day I'll sit down and I'll try and do it. And it bit by bit, it sank in. And before I knew it, it was all in my head. And then I started to create with it then. Once it's in your head, it's the same as your act. I talked about honing your act, and as well, you get ideas, and then once the ideas, once you embedded them in, you can then start playing around with them and
yes,
with them,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
it's
definitely.
a process for any creative to be able to do that. And so that's what I did. I basically started to create and play around with the script a little bit, and I started to then research more into Dan Leno, found some audio clips of him, and that made me change as well, because at the time I was doing it just my normal Lancastrian accent, and then I changed it to more like the theatrical accent that I put on in the show. I'm Dan Leno, and I really got involved in it, and it's quite a sad, but I should stress it. We were supposed to be doing this play, but again, lockdown affects it. We were supposed to be doing this at the Criterion Theatre in London.
Wow, right.
Back in April, with Roy Hood, of all people.
Oh, yeah.
Roy was going to be in it with us. He came to see it last year. Was bowled away by it. I mean, what an amazing guy. I know you've met him several times.
Yeah, I bet he loved it, didn't he? I bet he loved watching it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's one thing, a hero like that coming up to saying they enjoyed the show, but when he's actually in tears, because it's quite a moving play, and I know he's got strong connections with Dan Leno himself. It's all set in his latter few months of his life, when he was in a mental asylum because he had this brain tumour.
Wow.
I'm really selling it now, aren't I?
Well, no,
There's a lot of pathos in it, though. Do you know what I mean? It's because he's remembering his act, and he's remembering scenes, and he's getting confused. He's mistaking the nurse for his wife, and vice versa. And so there's a lot to the story. And he was genuinely moved with Roy Hood, and he came backstage and was just full of, and then championed it really, and then said he'd be part of it, played the part of Herbert Beerbohm Tree in the West End, and then sadly, as we all know, he passed away, and then lockdown happened, and it's not happened. But hopefully next year we'll get back with some other, I don't know, someone like I don't know, a band. I could throw any names out there. There's a lot of people who would like to do it.
Yeah, mate, I'd love to see it. I'm gutted. I know I've told you I'd really want to come and see this. I think you came to Eastbourne and I was working, so I'm dying to see it. Because I really enjoyed in lockdown watching Les Dennis play Jigsy. I didn't even know who Jigsy was, but it must be the same sort of premise, you know, with the behind the scenes of that person, and watching Tommy Cooper plays on stage and actually seeing them behind the scenes. It's so interesting to get behind a comic that way, you know, and you really get to know the person, and it's not always that happy person on stage. And, you know, we're in comedy, and we can be completely different personas on stage to what I mean, you don't juggle everything in the kitchen at home, do you? Well, you might, unless you rehearse it.
I do have 3 kids.
You juggle your kids.
Well, that's part of the course, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, it's beautiful.
Varying the weights, you know, making sure they all weigh the same for a while. I get it up eventually.
Yeah, but taking that and sharing someone's life, which was around 100 years ago, is actually not letting people forget those people, those greats, you know, and it's really nice to do that.
It was the most challenging part of playing Dan Leno was updating his material a bit. I didn't want to do injustice to it by just performing it as because you always got to put jokes and anything in context at the time. So, you know, if you're doing jokes material about Victorian England, then you people only got to be familiar with Victorian England. So what you try and do is imagine if he was writing it today, if he was doing his sketches today, how would they come across? So you do have a little bit of poetic license, but I think that's you have to do that in order, you know, for it to be people to understand why he should be revered and why he's so appreciated. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Wow.
Just the whole process of putting the play together and being part of it, and then it was also Royal that changed the name of it as well. That was an interesting little point because it was just called Dan Leno, a royal jester, and people who didn't know who Dan Leno was were immediately turned off, and it was Roy who suggested we change the title to be more ambiguous. So it then got changed to naturally insane. It's just a line that's in the play, but naturally insane. He said that appeals to everyone. People go, naturally insane. What's that about? There's a little bit of intrigue in the word. Naturally insane. And it draws more people in as opposed to just someone's name.
Yeah, fantastic. And it did just that, didn't it? So you had a great run. You enjoyed doing the run, didn't you?
Absolutely, yeah. One of the most rewarding things I've ever done.
Brilliant. Well, I can't wait to see it. Well, it's not going to stop there, the rewarding things, and you don't have to prove yourself in this business. We love you already. But you're so well respected, but you've taken the dive and the first successful hurdle into the depths of BGT, and hopefully coming up the lives. Hopefully it will be nice if you do get through. But I mean, you've had to wait longer to find out, haven't you, because of the lockdown? Whereas when I did it, it was over within 3 months. I done it in January. I think we done it in May. It was over by the beginning of June. But for you, it's been the whole year. 2020 has been your big break, and then the world stops, and now you're waiting for the rest of the break to happen.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I've watched people like yourself who go on it for years and really admired what you did and how. And I suppose to do with a little bit of cynicism of the show, perhaps at the beginning, and then also a little bit of fear. And Janice Connolly from Phoenix Nights did it last year as Barbara Nice.
Oh, yes, yeah.
On it, I messaged her, and she messaged me back just saying it's good to do things outside your comfort zone every now and again. Now, let's face it, this year has challenged us all in entertainment in so many ways. I've done so many things outside my comfort zone now, from garden parties streamed live to Zoom parties for a few kids. I've done so many things, but top list of them all is I did do Britain's Got Talent. I finally gave into it, and I was just found to enjoy the whole process. I don't know how much you enjoyed it, because I mean, you did so well in it anyway. But besides the adoration and the fact that some millions of people are watching you, I was treated really, really well, and surprisingly so. Having worked on television programmes, like I said, I've done a lot of television warm-up. I have worked on shows where you just felt there's so much tension backstage because they want to get it right, and it's telly. Again, it's a difference to telly and radio, and there's a much more relaxed approach to radio than there is television. Everyone seems so tense.
Yeah.
I didn't get that sense with Britain's Got Talent. I don't know if you did at the time or not. I
didn't. 7 years ago when I did it, it seemed that everybody loved what I was doing, and I think they just, I think they kind of had the perception of like, just let Steve do what he does, because I think we were all right with Steve. We'll concentrate on a lot of the others. But I mean, as a pro act, Well, I didn't go in there with a big edge. You need to keep your feet on the ground because you know it can go the other way. But the audition went great, as yours did. They only showed 20 seconds of mine, so I had to shine on those live shows. So I had things up my sleeve ready for it, and it worked. But yeah, the people behind the scenes are the most important people to get on with as well. You know, don't just impress the judges. Love the floor manager, the people doing your makeup and your costumes, you know, where they take you shopping to get your suits in London. It's I enjoyed working with everybody on the show, no matter, you know, the people that opened the door for me or drove me to the gig. I was just loving the experience. So I did have a great time on it. And then it's over. The show starts, and then a week later it's all over. You know, when it starts again for you, you'll realize that. So enjoy it when it does start. Just enjoy that week or 2 weeks because you will love it. Yeah.
The difficulty is, like you mentioned, there's the difficulty has been the length of time between the audition and now, because I've had ideas for what to do in the semis, and each time I think, I can't do that now because it involves getting someone up on stage, or well, I'll pick. There was one point where I thought I'll get Amanda and do this. You can't do that now, because of social distance, etc., etc. And so you're constantly rewriting and editing it. And even now, knowing that the semi-finals are going to be filmed now at the end of August, and they're going to be pre-recorded. So in some respects, it takes a bit of pressure off knowing they're going to be. Don't have to do it live, so the time restraint is a little bit more lenient because they know they can edit it. But then that's another fear. They can't edit it.
Oh, so right,
you know what I mean? So that was always been my fear about the auditions was, well, now they can edit it. So I've still got to try and concentrate on maintaining the time scale they give you for the semi-finals. But, you know, I've got it in my head, and I'm like you said, the secret, and certainly the reason it seemed to go so well for me in the audition, is I'm just going to try and enjoy it. There's not been a lot to enjoy about it. No. I've got to take advantage.
You've got to have something. Yeah, you haven't got a season, you haven't got Panto, you've got this. You have got something that you can look forward to. And do you know what? You're worried about the editing and stuff, and I think they love you. I can tell when you watch it back. You always know in the auditions who the favourites are. I can't remember a lot of the others, but I know you're in the top 3 of and you're your final material. We know that. We love you as you are. Don't change, mate. It's brilliant what you do, Steve. You're fantastic, mate. So good luck with all that, and good luck when you get back to Panto. Good luck with it all.
I know. Hope so.
Yeah.
But we've got this. All we can look forward to is the future.
We've got that, haven't we? And garlic bread, apparently.
Yeah, garlic bread. It is the future.
Yeah. Steve Royle, thank you so much for this, mate. I appreciate it. Great to talk to you. It's great to hear that you're back on stage again with outside audiences. But we'll get there. We'll get back inside one day. Get back to the Grand Theatre. Keep doing what you do.
You take full advantage of the fact that everyone's wearing masks now to really hone your act as well, Steve.
I tell you what, it's made my job easier, isn't it? It just makes me want to work on radio more, to be honest.
Oh, dear. Thank you. It's been lovely talking to you, Steve.
Cheers, buddy. Ice and Steve. That was the brilliant Steve Royle. And if you haven't seen it, he smashed his semi-final. And who knows what happened in the final? That's going to happen after I put this out. So I'm sure he's going to do very well. Definitely going to be in the top 1. So he won all of the 4 judges' votes in the semi-final, making him the first finalist of 2020. So good on you, Steve. Great news. If you want to see more Steve Royle, check him out on Steve Royle Comic on Twitter, Steve Royle Comic on Facebook, and check his website out, completely updated, steveroyle.com. Royle as in Royle. Not royal as in the royal family, but the other royal. Hence my introduction, which is full of hilarity. Eyes and Teeth was written, produced and hosted by Steve Hewlett. Thank you to the vocals of Larissa, Lola, Nina and Rich T. All jingles and theme music by Kevin Dean. This week's comedy quote is from Keaton. Buster, not Michael. A comedian does funny things. A good comedian does things funny. Tune in next time when I'll be speaking to the very funny Neil Warner and about his love for comedy. See ya.